guys, today I'm going to be doing a review of Quiet Power, The Secret Strengths of Introverts by Susan Cain. So it's a non-fiction book about introverts pretty much, and Susan Cain did a TED talk on the same topic, which I will link down below because she talks about kind of a lot of the same things. So highly recommend that TED talk. It's really amazing, and that was something that really drove me to want to read this book. I also did a video talking about introverts when I first had watched that TED talk, so I'll link that down below if that's something that you're interested in seeing as well. I so wish that I had had this book when I was a kid, from when I was like in primary school, and read it back then. I've faced that extrovert ideal my entire life, which is basically, you know, the idea that everyone should be bubbly and outgoing. It's kind of this ideal that our society has, and as someone who is an introvert, it's really tough to kind of have that be the expectation that you're supposed to live up to all the time. This book focuses on accepting yourself and your introverted ways, playing to your strengths. It talks about managing your weaknesses, so recognizing the bad things about being an introvert, and also stretching out of your comfort zone when necessary, because obviously you can't be in your own little bubble all of the time. If anyone watching this is an extrovert, this book also does mention that extroverts are great. We need them. We need like the yin and the yang kind of thing. And a lot of people, I don't know, they think about being an introvert and an extrovert as like a scale. So people can be in the middle, you know, smack bang, half introvert, half extrovert, or they can be one extreme or the other. They're just saying, why can't we all just be ourselves? First of all, I absolutely loved the way this book is laid out. It's divided into parts like this. So part 1 is school, part 2 is socializing, and then part 3 is hobbies, and part 4 is home. The school part I think would apply to uni students as well. There's some really great tips about group work and about presentations and things like that that would definitely apply to uni students too. Each part is then divided into chapters on more specific subjects. So the end of each chapter also has a really fantastic summary of just some like key points that to take away from that chapter, so that was really awesome. Some review I read on Goodreads said that it was like a graphic novel style, which it is not. It just has the occasional like cartoon illustration. So there's this one, which is like find your fortress of solitude, so it shows like different fortresses. So those things are sprinkled throughout, which is quite cute, but it's definitely not like a graphic novel style. There's a manifesto for introverts at the beginning, and then there's a guide for parents and a guide for teachers at the end, which is great. I kind of wish some of my teachers had read this when I was a kid. I just really like the way that it was laid out. I love when a non-fiction book is really clear and really specific and everything like flows nicely, as opposed to being like kind of a jumbled mess. I really appreciated how neat and clean this book was organized. What I loved most about this book though was the actual content and the advice that was given. Like I said, I wish I had this when I was a kid, but even now there's still things in it that I can take away. So I just want to like mention some of my favorite things that I got out of this book. So the first one is about finding a quiet place to recharge, because the idea is that introverts gain their energy from solitude and extroverts gain their energy from being around other people. So for introverts, being around other people, although you can enjoy it sometimes, over a long period of time it is, or sometimes a short period of time, it is quite draining. So you need to go away and recharge yourself. It makes the point where you can actually, say you're feeling overwhelmed at school, you just want to go home, you just want to be by yourself, you can like go to the bathroom or go to the library, just go somewhere where no one else is and just chill out for a couple of minutes. And I think if I had had that awareness when I was in school, I wouldn't have got as anxious about being around other people, because I would have been like, okay, I just need to go recharge and then I'll feel better. Because when you're in that kind of state of mind where you're needing to recharge but not realizing it, you just think that you hate being around other people, and it's not really that. It's more just that you need to take a couple of moments to yourself to like recharge. So that was a really good one. Same thing at parties and stuff, or if you're having to spend a great amount of time with some people or whatever, just knowing that to take your moments away. Another one was to find your passion and find your people, kind of. So find your passion, you know, whatever you're inspired by, whatever you're really into, and just go with it, because you'll have a lot more to say, is pretty much what they're saying. If you're passionate about something, you're going to have a lot more to say about it, so that's always a good thing. Don't try and be like into stuff that you're not into, because it's going to be even harder for you to come out of your shell if necessary. And then finding your people, having people that you can be your true self with, because often introverted people, you'll have people that forget that you're introverted because you're so talkative and stuff with them and open with them. And yeah, so it's about finding those people in your life that you can be your true self with and feel comfortable with and not feel drained with. Just finding people who support you as well, who love you for who you are, I guess. There's advice about body language and how powerful smiling can be. So if you just walk around like with a smile on your face, not in like a creepy kind of way, but if you just like make your face into like more of a smile than it generally is, or if you're doing a presentation or something, make sure you're smiling at people. It actually makes other people feel more comfortable, which is going to make you feel better because they'll react better to you than if you're like not smiling. So yeah, that's kind of a weird one, but that's something I never really thought about. And just the fact that I read somewhere else in some other like non-fiction book at some point saying that getting people to like you is just the flip side of liking them. So if you go around acting like you like everybody, like you're friendly to everyone, it's much more likely that they'll be friendly to you, and then you'll feel more comfortable because people are being nice to you, as opposed to like people being indifferent, or people, you know, people aren't as scary when they're being nice. Let's just be real. And then the other thing kind of in relation to that was in terms of dealing with small talk, because I think that's something that introverts may find the hardest. If they're not talking about something that they're passionate about, they're not talking about something that they have to talk about, like in terms of a school setting or something, having to make small talk with people can be quite intimidating and quite hard. Like I find it so difficult to make small talk with people, and in my job I have to do that a lot, so I've gotten a lot better at it over the last couple years, but it's something that I am still really self-conscious about, and I hate doing it, but I have practiced it a lot, so I'm getting better, but it's still really hard for me. So this little bit of advice is still applicable to me and still something that's going to be really helpful in future. So it's saying your job is to find out what makes this person interesting. So if you go into every little conversation with some, you know, a stranger you meet and you have to make small talk with them, think to yourself, it's my job to find out what makes them interesting. So if you think of it as like a puzzle, kind of like that, thinking about withdrawing information from them, obviously you don't want to be like interrogating them, but it just, if instead of trying to think of like things to talk about, if all you're thinking is I want to find out what's interesting about this person, you're going to ask them questions about their life, and people like talking about themselves, most people. So yeah, that's a really good way of looking at small talk. There was another point about the more you prepare for public speaking, the easier it's going to be. So if you have to do a speech or a presentation, the more you practice, the better you're going to be at it. This is something that I really wish I had had in high school. I was good at speeches in a way just because I was good at writing them. I was not good at presenting them. So I always got like a pretty okay grade just because of the content of my speech, but the actual presentation skills were not good. Which, the funny thing is, I did drama in high school, and drama was fine for me, like totally fine. But I think the difference was doing a speech, you're like sharing your own content, which is a lot more scary. Obviously I'm doing this on a camera right now, but if I had to do this, if this was like a room full of people in front of me, I don't think I could do it. I could read out something in front of a group of people, no problem. I could act in front of people, no problem. But reading out like my own thoughts, or like speaking out of my own head, I guess, is something that's really intimidating. I think the more you dislike them, the less you want to prepare, and you'd rather just do it on the day and get it over and done with and not practice or anything, but it is actually really helpful to practice. So that's something I wish I had thought about when I was younger. There's another tip about when you're socializing. This is something I find really hard because I get overwhelmed if I'm in a room full of people. I find it really hard to focus on the conversation that I'm having with someone, or like that the group of people I'm with is having, because there's so much going on around me that I find myself listening to everything, and it's really overwhelming and really stressful. It makes me really anxious. So this tip is to imagine yourself and your little group of friends, or whoever you're talking to, in a little bubble, and ignore everything else around you. So block out everything else that's going on and just focus on your little group. And I think that's really helpful advice, because that would stop me getting like overwhelmed at big social gatherings. Even sitting around a table with a big group of people and having like a conversation with a person next to me, I can't help but like get overwhelmed by everyone else talking. So yeah, I think that's really good advice. The only thing I did not like about this book was that I felt like there were too many real life examples and like stories from real kids and stuff. It is helpful to have examples of people who have gone through these same things and, you know, dealt with them or whatever, and people who are inspirational, but I just felt like it was a bit overloaded with that, and it got kind of repetitive because a lot of the stories were like the same kids being mentioned over and over, or like very similar stories. If it had have used a couple of examples, it would have been much more effective. Aside from that, it was a really amazing book. I really wish I could have read this from a younger age. If you have young people in your life that are introverted and are struggling with that, definitely recommend that you suggest this book to them. If you're still a youngish person or you're a teacher or a parent, I highly recommend this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. If you guys have read it or if you've read Quiet, let me know what you thought of them, or if you've seen the TED Talk, let me know what you thought. I would love to know if you're introverted or extroverted or somewhere in between. And if you want to keep up with what I'm reading on a regular basis, I will link my Goodreads account down below, as well as my Instagram and my Twitter. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you with my next video in a few days. Bye.